Go there. Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Have to get out of the way so you can see the water eagle. That was one of the things that was requested. I want to see the water eagle, so everything's been rearranged now. I hope you're all very well, and I hope you can hear me. I just have to be sure because, yeah, it says we're live, so that's great, we are live. I'm so glad it's Friday again, so we can have another wonderful Ether gathering right across North America. Really wonderful to see you. And you can see the studio's rearranged so you can see huge displays now. Hopefully the audio's fixed and many other things. I've been working with my assistant, my famous assistant, around the clock here. So things should be a lot better. I've seen that across the United States, especially on the East Coast, it's been incredibly cold. Northeast Florida, I just saw, had rain, and then, my goodness, even on the West Coast, we'll come to that later. It's been quite devastating weather everywhere. We've just had very mild, constant rain here in Vancouver, so it's just, for us, it's fairly normal. Very nice to see you all. And so far, it seems to be the quality is holding up. So let me just show you what my new studio looks like. Complete rearrangement. I would call it recycling. It's not like it's not something new. It's recycling it and doing things a lot better. So I'm just going to sit down for a second. Switch off my switch this. Have a look, and so. What's the different views? So you can see me small here, you can see me quite large. Hi, that's me, yes. That's me. And then you can see my back, you can really see my back now. So here, that's the other, you can see the studio, okay? You can have a beautiful view now of the studio. But not only that, it's actually possible for you to have a look from the top too. So you see my big eagle in the back, and you can see all the different monitors there, right? All the different monitors, which I'm just going to explain to you quickly what they are, so you can see what I'm actually doing. Now, instead of 5 displays, I now have 7. Isn't that ridiculous? 7. Why would you have 7? Why do you need 7 displays? It's quite simple, actually. This display here gives me a note, which, by the way, today is 16 pages long, right? So that I know what I'm doing. 60 pages of Eagle notes, right? Then I have the big display. As you can see, that's my live broadcast. So that's my control center. That's the control center that tells me everything. Then I have a second monitor there where I can read off my notes, which are projected from the first to the second. So I can move them there, but see them so that whilst I'm looking at you, I can also see the notes. Then there is the main screen here where I do a mirroring of the screen, and from the screen display, actually, I can then show you, for example, if David Hancock is talking or any others are doing some contributions and so on. That all goes from here. All the videos are played off this screen and controlled from that screen. And finally, which you cannot see on the side, I have an iPad, so I can see your comments. So there you go. And then one extra one, of course, the phone now is also connected. That's the 7th screen. So seven crazy screens. It's quite a setup, and it's running actually. I'm super proud. And as you can see, we are there are quite a few here of us, because let me just give you my normal view here. So my friend there is keeping my back. You can see him from all sides. So both of us are working extremely hard to make it possible here for you to enjoy it. Let's all wave our hands and say hi to everyone. So there you go. Okay. As you can see, and it was all about recycling some ideas, not doing too heavy things, but just rearranging them, and now it all seems fine. Yeah, right. Oops, where are we now? Hey, we're live, get out, we're live. What? Don't pull up my stuff, are you crazy? I heard you just said recycle. I'm not going to fall for this one. should I remove the batteries before I recycle them? Go, get lost. Well, so much for an assistant. You can see that's not easy. That's what we have, right? So that's called recycling, right? He misunderstands everything. He's completely useless, but what can I do? Okay, well, let's get to our topics now. So we have a lot. So the people I really want to welcome today is Kurt Kearley, director of the the Rhys Raptor project. He's going to be featured today as well. I would like to welcome MSO, who is the head moderator of the Dell HoloNest. That's the main feature today. Really great to do that. And I feel very honored that I hope Kurt is here right now. I'm not sure if he is. So Kurt, if you are there, just wave in the chat, because I'd love to have you here. Kurt is really wonderful. So we will start off today with, let me just look at my notes. Yes, I know what we're going to start off with. We are going to start off with something really interesting. Judy B. Judy B is incredible. You may know her. She keeps these meticulous records of all the nests right across North America. So after my last show, she wrote me a note and said, Christian, you know, you had this quiz question, and it seemed you got albinism and leucism mixed up. And Judy B, you're absolutely right. I did. There is a big difference. Look, it all has to do with melanin, which is a pigment, and albinism actually is complete loss of color. And leucism is, as the word already says, is more white. It is a partial loss, which you see in many eagles, or not in some eagles, you will see a partial loss. I've seen a leucistic eagle at least on, I think I've seen a partial leucistic one once here in Vancouver. I've seen the one in Oregon from photos. I've seen one from Matt Schetz, who's my friend in Alaska, for the wing feathers being leucistic. I've never seen an albino eagle, and we could talk about why one would never probably see an albino bald eagle. But what I wanted to show you, which is very interesting, coming to Judy B's point, it's quite amazing what's going on in the animal world. I'm here, for example, an albino, as you know, also has this reddish eye color, complete loss of pigment, right? And you can see there's an alligator, for example, that is an absolute albino. You would say albino, right? Here's a humpback whale as an albino. I found that incredibly interesting, and even a sea turtle, and so on and so on. Dogs we've seen quite often. I have not seen this in dolphins. I was really amazed to see these pictures. I just thought I'd share this with you. Hawk, yes. This is, I'm not sure whether this is an albino or whether this is actually a leucistic one, but really interesting to see. And so on, you know, really quite remarkable. Gosh, there's a lion even. Isn't that incredible? A moose and so on. And this here's a raccoon. Can you see a complete albino raccoon? Really interesting. I'm absolutely intrigued by this. And there's a rhino. You always talk about a white rhino. Well, a white rhino isn't white, but my goodness, this is as close. A skunk? Isn't that incredible? And look at this. A squirrel. I mean, my goodness. And a vulture, of course. And I mean, the ultimate, I mean, you know, kangaroo, elephant doesn't even look so extreme. But this, for me, is like, oh my goodness. There's peacock. It's just an albino peacock. So thanks, Judy B, for, you know, I just love to be, I love constructive criticism. This is fantastic. So I did do my homework and I looked further into it. And the probable reason why we don't have an albino eagle is not so much the probability, because they should be around. It's simply the reason is, if they lose all their pigmentation in the feathers, they also lose strength in their feathers, and also they have absolutely no more camouflage. they will be completely under attack from other eagles and so on. So they probably wouldn't survive in the wild. Leucistic eagles would have it difficult enough because they're like an open target for other eagles. But I think an albino wouldn't survive, at least as far as I know. That is from what I've read. So quite interesting, isn't it? So thanks, Judy B. Great contribution. So let's jump to the next subject. This is now about Kurt Kearley and his Rhys Raptor. Beautiful. Kurt, how did I get to know Kurt? I got to know Kurt actually through the Eagle Hawk. You may have, that's where I actually started, was with my Eagle Hawk broadcast from the Sydney nest. And that was quite popular because at that time I was the only one broadcasting. And actually, today I will come back to the Hawk for a very specific reason when we talk about Talons, actually. But Kurt at that time was enthusiastically following my broadcast and gave excellent comments, and we actually became, you could say, virtual friends. We've never met. And so recently I contacted Kurt again and say, hey Kurt, tell me a bit what you're doing. It's really interesting. And Kurt is an incredibly passionate falconer, and he's in Huntsville, Alabama. I'll just show you that on the map quickly, 1 second. So if you, oops, let me just, yeah, there you go. So first of all, this is where the Dale Hollow nest is. It's right here. And Huntsville is more or less on the northern side of Alabama. So then you have here, you have the Dale Hollow nest, which is just on the north side of Tennessee, just coming towards the to the boundary. I think that's Kentucky, right? Should be Kentucky. Yeah, that's Kentucky, right? It's right on the boundary of Tennessee, and you go across to Kentucky. So that's this whole region. This whole region here. Sorry, here it is. This whole region is where we're going to be dedicating our time today. Quite interesting. So let's start off in Huntsville, Alabama, northern Alabama, and see what Kurt has been up to. So yesterday I had the pleasure to interview Kurt, and you should just have a look at his beautiful homepage. It's just so, this is just so passionate. What if we could empower the next generation to be better caretakers of our world? We believe we can. And then comes his mission statement. It's a very modern type of website, beautifully done. Taking care of our environment, the birds, and so on. And you can see they gave him the scale, no salary, so it's completely, run by passion, really, and by dedication. A wonderful web page, really beautiful. Thanks, Kurt. Really, really very nice. So I'm going to now.
I am the founder and director.
Oops, 1 second. I'm just going to. So what I'll do, we had a 17-minute interview yesterday. I'm just going to disappear here so I'm not in the way. 1 second, there we go. And I am going to show you the introduction, then the main part, and I just have to scroll up to my notes here so I have all the relevant parts here. 1 second. Where are you, Kurt? Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to just, I'm going to show you the beginning, about 1 or 2 minutes as an introduction, and then I'll jump in the middle so you can see the birds, what they do, and so on. It's really quite magnificent.
Of an organization called the Rhys Raptor Project. We're based here in the United States in Huntsville, Alabama. That's the southeastern portion of the United States. And Christian, I definitely want to thank you for this opportunity to introduce our organization to your viewers and to possibly all around the world, which is a tremendous opportunity, which is such a nice thing about YouTube. We can all come together. And also I want to definitely say thanks to the work that you've done in your work with the Hawk Eagle up there in Canada. And because of that, you have really brought a lot of people together that have never known each other. So it's a tremendous work. So I thought...
Okay, so I'm going to spool forward a little bit now to about 7. Let me just see.
In addition, though, just to the science picture and with a focus on these birds. And for example, Sassy, at this time I definitely want to introduce my friend Robin Harris, and she is holding Sassy. Now, Sassy is a red-tailed hawk. And one example of red-tailed hawks integrating with Native American cultures comes from the Sioux tribe. Many people will recognize the Sioux warrior Crazy Horse. Well, in Crazy Horse's life, they were red-tailed hawks were what Crazy Horse's medicine and his spirit guide throughout his life. So that's just one example of how the things that we teach, how these birds have been integrated into their lives. So, anyway, we'll talk a little bit about Sassy here. Of course, Robin is a good friend of ours. She's an excellent raptor trainer, but more than that, she is an outstanding horseman, horse trainer. And a lot of times we get the opportunities to mix horses and raptors. Sassy, now to your viewers, Christian, Sassy might actually be could be identified as the red-tailed hawk eagle. Of course, your viewers will know what we're talking about when we say the hawk eagle, the baby hawk being raised, red-tailed hawk being raised by eagles. But anyway, she is a red-tailed hawk, a very common, one of the most common raptors in North America. Now, as Robin is showing a close-up of Sassy there, I want to mention that everything that we do under Rhys Raptor Project, the birds that you see here, whether they're alive or the presentation items, the static preserved presentation items, all fall under United States law, primarily the U.S. Migratory Bird Treaties Act, signed back in 1918. And so we are authorized by the United States Fish and Wildlife Service and the state of Alabama to have these birds and to conduct education, and everything we do, all the activities are governed. So definitely wanted to say that. And so Sassy came to us. She was found. Somebody posted, of course, the good thing about YouTube now, somebody posted a YouTube video of a hawk flying in the middle of a suburb, swooping to somebody, and it looked like what she was doing was food begging. She wanted food. And long story short, the people really didn't know, but they did call some falconers groups, and Sassy was eventually recovered, which was this bird. She was found. She flew into somebody's garage, up on a shelf, and she was sleeping when a guy walked in. So that's highly unusual, and for a truly wild red-tailed hawk, this doesn't happen. So just by observation of her behavior and the circumstances, and of the fact that she had some crude leather straps on her legs, we knew that she was an escapee from somewhere. And even after broadcasting different, trying to find her owners, we couldn't find them. So anyway, that wildlife sent her to me. And so she travels with us with education programs. Now Maximus here, this is Maximus, a Eurasian eagle owl. A lot of people might think he's a great horned owl, which would be a good guess, but the Eurasian eagle owls, as their name suggests, are from Europe and Asia. He's one of our education birds. He came to us in 2011, where we got the very rare opportunity to raise him as a chick specifically for education. Now, by law, he cannot be released to the wild since he's not a native species, but widespread in Europe and many parts of Asia is where they're from. Now, as their name suggests, their location, but it also suggests something about their size. When you're talking eagle owls are the largest owl species in the world, and the Eurasian eagle owls are probably if not the largest species. Now, to give you an idea of the size of Maximus, an eagle owl versus a great horned owl, which he looks like, what I have in my hand here is a preserved foot. This is one of the specimens that we take around to show kids that they can touch it, get up close to it, whereas in real life they can't touch the owl, a living owl, but they can touch our preserved specimens. And what I wanted to show the viewers is the size of these feet. Now, the males, as a general rule among raptors, are smaller than the females. It's true with eagle owls. Maximus weighs about 4 to 5 pounds, somewhere fluctuating in that range. The females will weigh larger. Maximus is larger, being a small eagle owl, he's larger than the largest great horn. This great horn foot next to Maximus's foot, you can kind of get an idea of the size of the size difference between the great horned owl and the eagle owl. There's really not much size overlap here. So when you're talking about eagle owls, if eagle owls were trucks, this would be like driving the big rig of owls. So anyway, so Maximus is definitely a big celebrity, as we and definitely does a good job of teaching our teaching our audiences about raptors. You also asked before, you asked about my experience with bald eagles. When I was in St. Louis studying under Walter Crawford, I had the great experience of working with their entire collection of birds. And of course, there are many bald eagles, many golden eagles. I worked with them in an education setting as well as a rehab setting. A lot of times we would get the huge northern birds coming down during migration. They would get in trouble, and we would take care of them there. So I did a lot of rehab, a lot of reconditioning, trying to condition them, release back to the wild. And of course, did work with the education birds, where we took the eagles around and gave people that up-close experience. I did one of the photos, if you of me is of here in Alabama. The closest rehab center is several hours away, so there's not a lot of people around here that know how to really care for these birds medically and all that. So sometimes I will get calls from other centers and run rescues, basically being an emergency and a nurse all at the same time, doing initial rescue and getting those birds to the correct permanent rehab facilities. So that's a little bit about us. You asked a little bit about what our vision is. So our vision really at this point is to continue and improve and enhance on our mission statement, which we read earlier. The key to Rhys Raptor Project is in what it actually stands for. Rhys is an acronym that stands for Raptors Inspiring Stewardship Through Education. We think education is really the key. Walter Crawford said, education is the key to environmental preservation, and that's true. If people don't know what's out there, they don't understand how our environment works, understand the basics of how complex and interrelated the species are, it's going to be difficult for those people to make good informed decisions and take action to do those things to preserve our environment. The other thing is scientific initiatives. What will be venturing out hopefully fairly soon, maybe this year or next year, is starting to address environmental issues by doing some science research. One of those research projects involves, hopefully, if we can get the permitting, is releasing American kestrels. Now, as many of your viewers may know, that American kestrels have been observed to be on decline generally throughout North America. There's a lot of hypotheses why, but no one really knows why. So one of the things we'll be doing studies to release kestrels in urban environments and study what their behaviors are and will they return, and maybe that data will be useful in species restoration with kestrels and maybe some other species. And definitely, and we're very fortunate to have one of the best raptor biologists in the world. And if he sees this video, he'll know who I'm talking about. And I definitely want to say a shout out to him and say thank you for being involved in our project. So we're working on more projects in the future. If people want to connect with us, they can go to our website at www.rhysraptor.org. And from there, we have a link on Facebook. You can find out more about the different people involved in Rhys Raptor Project, more about us. Our schedule's online. If you're in the area and we're out and about, definitely connect with us. We'd be happy to see anybody who loves raptors around the world. They're friends of Rhys Raptor Project. Christian, I want to say thank you very much for giving this opportunity to come to you on YouTube and introduce ourselves to the viewers. And we definitely hope to see you soon. Thank you very much.
Now we're going to jump to the next topic before we go to the Dale Hollow. And now it's all about the raptor. All about the raptor foot. And I have to actually, and let me see if I can get this, show you something quite intriguing. I've got so many pages here. One sec, I know how this works. Now I remembered. Now I remembered. Yes. This is incredible. So what happened was, you know, where does one find information about talons actually? And so I went online and I started looking. And to be honest, I was surprised how little I could find. I mean, deep information, more information than the usual information. And so I landed up again with, of course, David Hancock. Who else? And David searched together with Miles Lemon, who works with him. He's a young biologist who works with him. And they gave me this intriguing paper. And I just have to read the first two sentences to you so that you can appreciate, you know, what is actually going on. So this is specifically written about talons, and it is a publication from the year 2009, and it starts as follows. I just have to read this. Despite the ubiquity of raptors in terrestrial ecosystems, many aspects of their predatory behavior remain poorly understood. Surprisingly little is known about the morphology of raptor talons and how they are employed during feeding behavior. My goodness, you could have thrown a rock against me. I was completely stunned when I read this. I thought, how is this possible? Imagine an eagle reading this and saying, for goodness sakes, this is just saying, like, what are you using your hands for? Imagine an alien species comes to us and says, hey, I've done a full analysis of man, and they've got these appendix, these sort of evolutionary appendixes. I don't know what they're for there. That's the equivalent. We don't understand what talons are about. I mean, that's shocking. That's shocking. And this is good news for all of us as citizen scientists, all of you who observe. There's so much more, and that's actually, when you read the article, you will find that the main reason why we know so little about talons is because it's so difficult to study out there in nature. It's so difficult. You don't want to disturb them and so on. But they actually studied 1,211 species in this article and came to some incredible conclusions. I was completely flabbergasted. It reads like reads like a thriller. So I will give you the link for those who are interested, and I will jump straight into the the picture I was going to show you, and here we are. So let's start looking at the anatomy of the talon. So the thumb, it's actually not the thumb, the hallux, which is the back, right? That's the hallux here. That you call the hallux, is equivalent to our big toe, right? It's our big toe here, our big toe, but our toe can't do anything, right? The hallux is much more powerful. It's more like the thumb, which is called the pollex, by the way. So you can see the rotation of my thumb is very similar to what I can do there with the back foot, and that's called digit. The word, the proper the proper avian term for this is called the digit. It's nothing to do with the digital word. And they start counting just the same way we count our thumbs, our fingers. We start from the inner side, and you count, and that's number one here, right? That's number one, from the inner side. And then you go from the inner to the outer, from the medial to the lateral. So digit number 2 is the outer one. Digit number 3, oh, sorry, ups, I have to lean all the way here. That's digit number 3, and then comes digit number 4. And now comes the question, so what is the significance of this? And I would just like to read you a beautiful excerpt from my friend David Hancock, because, you know, he goes to so much trouble always to give more insight. And he writes to me the following just a few days ago when I asked him about the talon. He said, for many of the eagles and hawks, the raptor foot is the killing tool. Short, powerful toes terminating in sharp, curved talons. So the sharp, curved part is what you call the talon. The rest is called the foot, right, and the toes. Driving the talon through the prey after simply getting a grasp on a struggling prey, can literally cause internal bleeding, strangulation or asphyxiation, and total submission of the prey. Many falcons have more delicate longer toes for wrapping around and holding prey, which the raptor then dispatches the prey in its beak. Like with many of the definitions, words take on different meanings at different times. The foot generally included all the toes, the phalanges, and the backward-facing hallux. So that's again, that's equivalent to our thumb, and the terminal sharp claw or talon. Generally, the terminal black sharp hook is the actual talon. That's what it is. Depending upon how the raptor catches and kills prey, we see a variety of longer or shorter or weaker or stronger toes that derive the grappling of killing talons. And then he goes on to say the fish eagle has its toes covered by scaly scutes. That's very important to facilitate holding slippery fish. That's actually really important. Have you ever tried to catch a salmon with your hands? I mean, my goodness, that's a very important point here. The power in the foot muscles is usually related to how the foot is used. The early evolutionary line of fish eagles evolved from the old vultures that used their feet for walking rather than grasping and killing. So the lineage of eagles today still shows traces of eagles that feature weaker walking feet and others. Remember how funny the eagle's wobbling, like the Haliatus lineage, that have stronger killing feet for grasping and killing. My point is in handling bald eagles. The dangerous part of the eagles is the sharp grasping talons. Its strong wing butts that can knock out the coyote, and then its sharp curved mandible that can bite. So there you go. Very nice. Thank you again, David Hancock, for that beautiful explanation. He goes to so much trouble. I mean, you must think about David. He's 79 years old now, and he is as live as anything. So I have always the deepest respect for his beautiful, for his beautiful explanation. So let me just give you a quick summary what I actually read in this article, which is really interesting. So what they found out, I mean, they went to incredibly meticulous details of looking at the raptor feet. As far as the eagle is concerned, the main I'm just going to get out of the way here 1 second, because I feel I'm in the way. So let me make myself really small. That's much better. That's much better. My goodness. Okay. So the main one is digit number 1. So that is the hallux. Very important for grasping the fish. So you have the very, very scaly skin of the eagle. And then digit number 2 is really important. By the way, what's very important to know, the talons are not, like many think, equivalent to our nails. Our nails you can cut off like hair or feathers. You don't feel that. But they are part of the bone. And if a talon gets broken, it can be very painful. And it's a real hazard for an eagle to have a broken talon, especially digit number 1 or digit number 2. The reason being that digit number 2 is actually the biggest of them all, similar maybe to our middle finger, the longest one, and really is the one that gives the grasp. Now, what is interesting when you read this article about the eagle is, contrary to common belief, it is not that the eagle just takes its prey and squashes or squeezes it to death. That's not the case. You've seen that with the red-tailed hawk. How were they brought into the nest? So actually, the talons are mainly they grasp them in such a way so that, for example, if it's a rodent, it cannot go and bite. So they have a very good grip. They are in a way paralyzed in a certain way. And with the falcon, it's a bit different. They use their talons more to asphyxiate their prey. So very often you could see that with eagles, they bring them back into the nest. So digit number 2 is not sharp. It has a longer curvature than digit number 3. Really interesting observations here. So now we come to a really beautiful nest, and this you've just seen MSO here, who is the admin today, moderator. Thank you very much for sending so much information. It must be an incredibly beautiful area here, the Dale Hollow Reservoir in Tennessee. So that's northern Tennessee, as I mentioned. It's close to the, I think, close to the Kentucky border. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's an incredible area, and I'm just going to see, because there was lots and lots of information that I was sent. Really beautiful. And I just have to look at my notes now, so give me a second. Give me a second. So this is all by the head moderator, MSO. The Dale Hollow Nest is one of the most beautiful locations I have seen. Dale Hollow Lake is in northern Tennessee, near the Kentucky border. Map, I've done that already. And then this shows you a little bit about the beautiful site here. That was the first link, and there's a map down there, but I already showed you that, so that is what MSO is just referring to. It's an incredibly beautiful area. It's a huge dam here, and the next is one. The body of water below the nest is how do you call this? The Obi, or yeah, Obi, yeah, pronounced Obi River. Yeah, it's pronounced Obi River, which is part of the lake. And that's it. It's beautiful. So you can see it's absolutely magnificent. There must be ospreys around here too, right? I'm sure they're competing with ospreys. And then let's go to the next note here. The nest is located high up in an oak tree. So let me just open this one. Yeah, I got that one right. It's in a secluded area. It can only be seen by boat and is not accessible to the public. Right, so that's the next one. And then we go to the next picture. Oh, here's a video of the eagle leaving and arriving. Yes, I got the videos later. So there are lots of other pictures here. I must just see where the notes are that refer to the pair there. There's the pair, and what... Yeah, a contest was held at the local school, and the kids named the eagles Obi and River. Okay, so there you go. This is Obi and River. Thank you very much. And the nest is reported to be 8 years old and has fledged 16 eagles. So it looks very successful. This is only the second pair a year for a camera. So we have no long history. Well, it looks like a very healthy pair. Really marvelous. So so let's just take a few more pictures here. Oh, there's some little ones here. The pair laid 3 eggs last season and all 3 hatched. However, the third chick was much smaller. This is an incredible size difference here. Was much smaller and did not survive. So this is the picture. You can see how small in comparison it is. That's one thing I wanted to ask you, MSO. Maybe you can put it in the chat. What was the difference in days, or was there anything else between the first and the third? Is there any record of that? So that's something for you maybe to answer. And oh yeah, then they have these, what was this one? Let me see, hawk steels, where does this come from? I'm not sure. Hawk steals 14 out of nest. No, I'm sure that's not right. Okay, here's the next one. The Dale Hollow Eagle Cam Owl Attack. Okay, so this is an owl attack. Just going to see how that comes. 1 minute 30 seconds. You're going to see one of these horrible owl attacks. By the way, I just wanted to say this is something I talked to Kurt about. And Kurt is very interested in this discussion. He has, of course, this Eurasian owl that you've seen, which is very similar to the great horned owl. So we can assume that their vision is very similar. So he's going to do tests, either with me or without me, to see whether the owl can actually see the near infrared of that. So it's an interesting question. So very nice that he's going to pursue that. Okay, so you just I think we just had the owl attack. Just 1 second, I didn't pay attention. I think that was already right. Oh yeah, there comes the second one jumping in. Yes, I think that was it. So I think that was that contribution. And okay, here's another one. I'll just briefly show that. It's such a beautiful nest, isn't it? I mean, look at the this incredible view here. DH2 returns after falling 3 days ago. Oh, I see. Right. Right. My goodness, that nest looks really healthy. So I put all the links of all the videos below. Okay, so you can look at this, and there's a huge. Let me just see that one coming in. I just want to see if we can just get that scene here. Yeah, there we go. There we go. My goodness, what a landing. That was a crash landing. It's typical for a juvenile. Very nice. And then another one, Dale Hollow, caution, very aggressive morning, it says here. Very aggressive morning. So let me just see why this was aggressive morning. I don't remember. I just have to quickly look. Probably during the feeding, so I'm just going to jump forward a bit. Oh, you can see that. So anyway, take your time and look at all these beautiful Dale Hollow contributions here. Really quite incredible. And I can see how that nest is absolutely secluded from the public, which is really what we want in the end. I mean, it's so wonderful one can observe this without interfering. It must be very difficult to maintain. I gather this camera, very new camera, looks like excellent video quality. See some very nice feeding here. Okay, and here are some more pictures bringing in sticks. Very nice. Oh, then finally there's a history. What I received here from MSO, the chat room admin, is that you can read up the whole history, and also that is all available. So beautiful documentation. Thank you so much for that incredible contribution. I just wanted to show you something because news comes in all the time, and I just put it on this. I received about an hour ago, so you can see some of the devastating effects of roadkill. I assume this came through roadkill, and I just got this in this morning. This was a golden eagle hit by car. Again, this is the Southwest Wildlife Foundation of Utah. Maybe if anybody of you have contacts with them, I would like to see if we can talk to them at some point. But this was a golden eagle that was critically hit by a car.
By a vehicle over on State Road 20. And the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources brought it to me, so we'll see what we got. I have no idea until we get him opened what we're dealing with here. They said it's a golden eagle, but we'll find out here real quick. Okay, what do we got in here? Yeah, it's a golden. Here you go. You having a bad day, sweetie? I got you. Well, you're fighting good. That's a great thing. There's a foot though. There we go, got them both. There we are. Hey, sweetheart. Yeah. Pretty little girl. Okay. Let's see. Let's see what we're doing here. Oh. Okay.
Is it something that can be stitched?
Yeah, we're just going to let it sit for the night and see where we're at.
We've got to
oftentimes heal itself up. Okay. Wings. See what we're dealing with here. Okay. Wing feels good. Shh. You're all right, sweetie. Okay. Yeah, I know you can bite. That's all right. I don't care.
Following his initial exam of this golden eagle, Martin decided the wound near the crop needed to be stitched up. He also needed the eagle to stay as still as possible, so visited a local veterinarian to assist. As of today, January 10th, the eagle is still fighting. The large male golden eagle is being kept in a small chamber at the Southwest Wildlife Foundation, where he is disturbed as little as possible. Though the wing is not broken.
Okay, so you can see what's going on. Now I don't know if this, if the reason for this was roadkill next to the car, but from David Hancock, my goodness, I know how many eagles are saved in our area just because cars hit, you know, hit some rodent or some, could be a raccoon or whatever, and then subsequently the eagle goes in and is hit by a car. That happens very often. It is very sad, and it is something, you know, that just needs to be addressed. But a lot of, you know, a lot of raptors undergo a very painful time when they are hit by cars or similar. Right. So that was this now. So let's see where we are now. Yes, this was just interesting. This is from my friend Mark Horner talking about News 2. Mark, you came in with this incredible story here, and then we'll move to the other nests. But it says here, snatched by a hungry eagle, a little dog dives to bark the tail. Now, if I remember the story correctly, this happened, let me just see where this was. But it's a crazy story because it's an 8-pound dog that was snatched by an eagle. 8-pound dog snatched by an eagle and carried for 4 miles. Carried for 4 miles. I shouldn't say I don't know if it was carried for 4 miles, but they thought it was gone forever. But 4 miles later, they found the you know, the dog, and they said, heartbroken, she and her husband scoured the woods for Zoe's body. Little did they know that their bitty bitchen would be found later in the afternoon, 4 miles away, and they said it was a miracle to get the dog back, and it was really frozen, but everything's fine. What a story, isn't it? What a story! Quite incredible. Right. So I'm going to just, let's see. This is the. Oh yes. Let me just show you something really interesting. This is a contribution from Lady Hawk. I'm just going to stop 1 second and just explain the background. So, as you know, Lady Hawk also, like many of you, observed many nests. And a few days ago, she wrote to me about this video, and you can see the devastating weather that is everywhere. This is the Big Bear Eagle Cam. And my goodness, she wrote to me, and I immediately sent it to David Hancock because I thought, gosh, he has to see this video. Because what is interesting is the poop that the eagle is extracting is not the usual white. And I just wanted to show you that bit because, you know, we wanted to have David Hancock's opinion on that. So I'm just going to go forward a little bit to about here. Yeah. I'm sure you saw that. I'm sure you saw that. That was clearly very black. And so David Hancock looked at it, and he was completely surprised at the conditions, of course, that they have in the Big Bear Eagle Camp at the moment. Of course, it's far interior. It's far east of Los Angeles. But it seems to be really heavy weather. And the good news is we had further talk with Lady Hawk, is that the eagle is in very good condition. So it's not, so Mama Eagle's in very good condition. It seems to be the reason, according to David Hancock, is that from the urinary tract, usually what you get is a very white substance, and then from the other digestion, could be indigestion, what they've eaten, it becomes more black. But in this case, the color was extremely black. So it doesn't seem to be anything abnormal, fortunately, and the eagle seems to be in very good health. But a very interesting observation, I'd never seen that. Thank you so much, Lady Hawk, for that excellent contribution. Past, and we were talking about the Solomon Islands last week. Where are you going to take us now?
Well, I'd like to go to the continent of Africa.
Okay.
And last time we talked about there being the Australian white-bellied seagull had a sister population on the little group of islands to the north and east, which were the Solomon Islands.
Right.
Africa has the same kind of structure, and when we get to North America, we're going to see again a similar structure. This big common bird of Africa, the African fish eagle, covers all of sub-Saharan Africa. It covers all the tropical areas, all through the main rainforest, right from Gambia on the west side, across to Ethiopia on the east side, and then all the way south, right to the tip of South America.
Right.
So a bird with a huge distribution, and a bird that is somewhat like our bald eagle, in the sense that it is very successful in recent years. Like the bald eagle, this African fish eagle has adapted to human beings and to our farming areas on the edges of them. People like this eagle. It doesn't tend to kill things that people worry about in most areas. So it often will scavenge. There's lots of fish available in Africa along the rivers. And so this is a bird that is liked, and as a result, there's, just like here up and down our coast, people go out and throw fish from the camps. If you go out to one of these photographic camps along a river or a lake area in Africa, almost everywhere, they will go out in the middle of the day and throw out a fish, and in come the African fish eagle. So it's a marvelously popular bird, and like North America, where if you watch any film in North America, wildlife film, and even non-wildlife films, you'll hear in the background a red-tailed hawk screaming. It is the call that is in every North American film, certainly in every North American wildlife film.
Right.
In Africa, in the background of every African film, you either hear a francolin, which is a kind of grouse-like bird calling, or you hear this high-pitched call of the African fish eagle. It's just pollutes almost every soundtrack in an African film, because everybody identifies this African fish eagle.
But it's not as bad as the when I was in South Africa, the South African ibis. That's Hadidar. You know what?
I know that. Yes, it gets its name, Hadidar, from making it terrible. Well, this is a high-pitched noise. It's an unusual noise, but it's considered nice and emblematic of Africa.
Right.
So anyway, so that it is a special eagle in the hearts of people, which is really important from a conservation point of view. People are not against it. So important in conservation. It's a bit smaller than our bald eagle. It's only 4 to 8 pounds, about the same size as the Australian bird, and a bit smaller than our bald eagle, and a bit smaller than the one that's on the to the north, the other big popular bird, which is the white-tailed sea eagle.
But it's the only fish eagle in Africa.
It is the only fish eagle in all of Africa.
That's interesting. Okay.
But like the Australian one, it has a little sister population over on the far west side of Africa, east side of Africa. On Madagascar.
Madagascar, right.
That's correct.
Right. Yes. Okay.
And while, we'll talk about that bird another time. But it's a very similar relationship between this huge continental mass of very abundant African fish eagles and a little tiny different population nearby, but on a separate island. Now, one of the interesting things is they speak of it as being territorial. Like our bird, defends a mile or so. But like several other birds that are at times territorial, if there's a huge abundant food supply, like in some rivers, there's one record of a 500-acre river that had 9 pairs of eagles nesting on it.
Right.
Well, that's a real high density, and that's because they are adaptable. It's just that normally they fight to hold territory to make sure they get enough food. Right. But if there's a huge food supply around, they will nest areas like right here in White Rock. We get our eagles nesting 200, 300, 400 meters apart because the food supply is. Same in Africa. They do incredibly well in nesting together when the food supply is available.
Good.
Now, like a lot of the fish eagles, they basically eat fish, but they're not beyond taking young flamingos out of their nests. They'll take young ducks and other water birds off the water surface. So they're versatile, and they will take They will take dead things.
Right.
That have been shot or whatever, road-killed food. So they're scavengers as well, but they're predominantly, like most fish eagles, they're predominantly fish eaters.
Right.
All right. One of the things that's been suggested is that, and I don't know that I believe this, but the literature says, and I have not spent, I've seen quite a few African fish eagles in Africa, but I've never been at their nest sites. But one of the things they say is the female sits almost constantly on the eggs, as opposed to here, where we have much more sharing of incubation between the male and the female. It's apparently rare for the male to come in and sit for a few minutes and let the female go off. But it may be that they just haven't had the cameras on the nests as long as we have. Yeah. They use a term here, and I want to read this because it was a word I had never used in my life. It said the African fish eagle is known to peculate other birds. Now, that it simply means that they, and all these fish eagles do this commonly, peculate, but it's a word I hadn't used, is where they attack another bird who's caught something and to make them throw it up. Like our eagles our eagles will attack a heron. We've seen it, where the heron goes down on the beach, catches a fish, and the eagles go and attack and make it let go of the fish. It's called peculate.
Yes, yes.
It's a term I had never used before. I always thought it was like predating them or scaring them. Well, the heron will throw up the fish. The gulls at the dump here commonly will swallow a big piece of meat, and our eagles will chase them until they regurgitate it.
Isn't that incredible?
And these African fish eagles are known to do that. They'll sit back, watch a big Goliath heron swallow a fish that's a pound and a half, and he's not going to do well when he's being chased, carrying an extra pound and a half in his crop. So as the eagle pursues him, the heron regurgitates this food. And the interesting thing is not just that they do this, because that's common among many bird species. I'd never heard the word peculate before. Peculate.
And I thought once you swallowed it, you're fine, but you're not.
No, not if it's too big, because it's too much of a handicap.
You're right.
You can't outmaneuver the eagle, so it's easier to regurgitate it, let the eagle have what he was after, and escape with your life.
You can't regurgitate half of it.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Okay, that was David Hancock again. So next week we'll have another contribution. So I just wanted to quickly go somewhere. I have forgotten my wonderful friend Bradley. Thank you so much, Bradley. My goodness, Bradley's drawn this beautiful, he made this beautiful animation. You remember Bradley, right? He made this beautiful contribution. Look how well he drew the talon. Isn't that beautiful? You learned this is a helix today. You learned that, and you drew a very nice picture. So Bradley, of course, is in school. He doesn't have much time. So I a million times thank you for that incredible contribution. Yeah, I don't remember if there was anything else, but well, what was it again? I don't know. Oh, sorry, you're still live. Oh my goodness. What are you doing here? Have you seen the sunscreen somewhere? Ah, here it is, the sunscreen. I know it's raining, but I'm going to Florida. I'm going to Florida, see some eagle nests. Gonna be cool. And you know what? He's not going, I'm going. All right, the secret is out now. So it's going to be Florida, yay! So the surprise is, yes, we're going to go to Florida, my wife and I, and we're going to go to the northeast Florida nest. We will go there on a very special day, and it is going to be Friday the 9th of February for the reunion of the Northeast Florida Moderator Reunion. I will be there with my wife, or I should say my wife and I will be there. We'll be absolutely honored. And on Saturday, I will be doing a live broadcast from Northeast Florida and interviewing a lot of people, and we'll have lots of fun together. We're going to spend the whole day together. Marvelous organization, by the way, from Gretchen. Thank you so much. It's going to be most incredible. So I look so much forward to that. So that's going to be, the dates are as follows. Let me just see. Friday is the 9th of February. Saturday is the 10th of February. Sunday, I'm counting correctly, 9, 10, yes, Saturday is the 11th. And Sunday or Monday, I'm going to drive on to the Southwest Florida nest. If there's anybody who wants to talk to me, or so any of the ground observers also from the Southwest Florida nest, you're very welcome. Of course, we have to respect the Dick Pritchett territory and the Eagle's Nest. So if we do any talking, we can happily meet somewhere. Just contact me. The main thing is, of course, to not disturb the eagles, but at the same time, it is to have fun, to enjoy the education, and to celebrate the time we're going to have in Florida. So it's both a Northeast Florida nest over the weekend, and then Sunday, either Sunday afternoon, depends on how long it takes. I think it takes about 4 hours to drive from one nest to the other. Probably Monday will be the Southwest Florida nest. So I'm so much looking forward to that. Really wonderful.